Big Bend is the birdiest national park in the country. More birds have been seen here than any other national park in the U.S., from Coloma warblers to varied buntings, from Lucy's warblers to gray vireos. Big Bend is one of the most unique birding destinations in North America. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know to plan an epic birding trip to Big Bend National Park. So why is Big Bend so great? Big Bend National Park has so many birds because of a combination of elevation and habitat diversity. You get Chihuahuan desert scrub, riparian corridors along the Rio Grande, high elevation oak and pine forests in the Chizos Mountains, and so over 450 species of birds has been recorded here. Now here's what makes Big Bend National Park special for birding. The overlap between desert birds, western mountain birds, and Mexican specialties overlap all in the same place. Some birds that can be found here is like the Coloma warbler. It's the only place in the United States that you can actually find them during the breeding season. The varied bunting can be found here during the breeding season. You can also find birds like the gray vireo or Mexican jay. A large part of Big Bend's diversity comes from the different elevation that Big Bend has. You can be birding desert scrub at sunrise and then by mid-afternoon be in pine oak woodland at a much higher elevation. Then in the afternoon you could go down to the canyon rim and start scanning for raptors. So all of this different elevation means that you have a bunch of different bird species. So when should you go birding at Big Bend National Park? If you want to avoid the worst heat and still see most of the species, here's when you want to go. Spring is the peak season. This is generally late March to May. Coloma warblers are singing and have migrated north. Spring migration is generally in full swing. If you want the highest species diversity, go in late April or early May. That's the peak of spring migration. Summer is very hot, so you're going to have to be birding in the morning, but that's also when birds like the varied bunting or Lucifer hummingbird migrate north. Bird from sunrise to 10 a.m. and then plan on some owling or stargazing in the evening because it is just way too hot to do any birding during the day. Fall can be pretty good for southbound migration and fewer crowds, but some of the specialties have already left. Winter can be great for sparrows and raptors, but there are no Coloma warblers or birds like that, but it is still generally pretty productive for desert birding. If you want the best overall experience, aim for late March or April. The overlap between migrants and the breeding specialties coming north can be incredible. So here's some must-visit hotspots that you have to go to if you're birding in Big Bend. First, the Chizos Basin. This is where you're going to find more of those mountain birds like the Coloma warbler, Mexican jay, Hutton's vireo, Grace's warbler, acorn woodpecker, the list goes on. There's a ton of birds to find here. Some of the best trails can be the Boot Canyon Trail. This is a classic spot for Coloma warbler, and you can often hear quite a few of them singing in the oak woodland. You could also do the Lost Mine Trail, which can be excellent for Mexican jay and other high elevation warblers, but Boot Canyon and the Pinnacles Trail can often be just as fine for these birds. The Chizos Basin campground can be surprisingly productive during mornings, and so that's definitely worth checking out. The Rio Grande Village is a great riparian area to find birds like the varied bunting, gray hawk, Bell's vireo, summer tanager. There's a lot of birds that can be found here, so if you want some extra species, that is definitely the place to go. It's one of the most productive birding spots in the park, and I highly recommend that you go there at sunrise, as that's when most of the birds are going to be active and singing. Pay attention for nesting hawks during the evening. Rio Grande Village can also be a great place for owls. Dugout wells and desert scrub is a great place to find birds like the black-throated sparrow, pyraloxia, greater roadrunner, scaled quail, or an ash-throated flycatcher. This is classic Chihuahuan desert habitat, and while there might not be quite as many birds here as riparian areas like Rio Grande Village, they are still some really quality birds that, if you've never been to this area before, are a pretty high chance of being lifers for you. Sam Nail Ranch could also be an interesting place to check out and see if you can find some birds like a verdin or ladder-backed woodpecker. Verdins are really neat little birds. Santa Elena Canyon can be a great place to look for raptors such as the golden eagle or prairie falcon, and you also might find some canyon wrens there. If you want to maximize your trip to Big Bend, I highly recommend that you grab my birding itinerary. Inside you'll get a day-by-day plan that covers every major habitat zone in the park and gives you the best shot at all of the birds that are found here, from Coloma warblers to the varied bunting. If you don't want to spend hours planning routes and guessing where to be at sunrise, just follow the itinerary and you'll rack up an impressive number of species. I'll link it down in the video description below, or I think you can also get it up here on this card. If you want to get that itinerary and courses and a bunch of other things to help you become a better birder, definitely check out the Better Birders community. I'll link it down in the video description below. This is definitely the place to be if you want to get better at birding. Inside you get access to a bunch of different birding itineraries for various hotspots, including Big Bend, and courses that are going to help you improve. So now let's talk about some logistics and just general birding tips when you go to Big Bend. Now, Big Bend, like anything in Texas, is really big, so try to position yourself in about the middle of the park. Otherwise, you could be looking at an hour-long drive from Terlingua to Rio Grande Village. The Chizos Mountain area is generally in the center of the park and is a great place to stay if you want to stay in the mountains. Otherwise, Terlingua is generally a fairly decent option on the west entrance. Since I travel full-time with my family, we have a fifth wheel, and so the campgrounds in the park just aren't large enough for it, so we have to stay at an RV park in Terlingua. I believe Terlingua is like a 45-minute drive from Chizos Basin, so it's not terrible, and it's really the only option if you can't or don't want to stay inside of the park. Now, Big Bend can get really hot even as early as March, so you want to make sure that you're maximizing your mornings to find the most birds, as that's generally when birds are most active. During the afternoon, you might not find a whole lot of birds, but this can still be a great time to look for some raptors, as the warmer air means that there's going to be more air thermals, and so raptors are going to be a lot more active. Also, you can plan on doing some scenic drives or sightseeing during this time while you look for raptors. So if you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would tap that like button and go grab the Big Bend itinerary if you haven't already. I think it'll be really helpful for you, as I've just condensed the hours that I've spent planning trips to Big Bend and made it all really easy for you to follow in a complete itinerary. You can pick it up with the link right here, or it is down in the video description below as well. So thanks for watching and have a great trip to Big Bend.